I'm going to chat with you a little bit today about the Handwash Initiative. So I'm going to share my screen and show you some slides. I know that many of you are familiar with what we're doing. Obviously, this is an initiative that was born and bred in District 7020 within the zone under past RI President Barry Rassin's leadership. And we now count, I think, about 80 different Rotarian volunteers from throughout the zones and other zones and across North America and the Caribbean. Approximately 10 countries now are participating in Handwash in different forms. And that doesn't count the countless numbers of Rotarians, clubs, and districts that have participated by contributing cash or DDF to one of our global grants. I see here, obviously, we have Director-elect Jeremy, DGE Deborah from District 7020, PDG Haresh, PDG Jan from our champion district 6940, Neil Snyder and Sandra Hempstead from our champion district 6960, Marshall Butler, who's been helping us on the web activities of Handwash. It's so nice to be here. Thank you all for joining. So I would like to, just give you a little bit of context. I know you all are probably familiar with the WASH challenges in Haiti, but you may not be as familiar with the scope and breadth of Rotary's involvement in trying to address that challenge. And if we look at sort of some of the history of Rotary involvement in water and sanitation in Haiti, just after the earthquake in 2010, that devastating earthquake that devastated the country, we saw that Rotary clubs poured in to provide support in many different areas. Particularly in water and sanitation, we saw that there were, at a minimum, about 40 plus different WASH projects that were conducted in the country to the tune of about $4.6 million. You can see from the pins on the map that these clubs were conducted all throughout the country. But there were a couple of things that characterized these projects. One was that there was no coordinated vision for bringing all these projects together. And so each club was operating under its own auspices without really, sharing information between each other. A second aspect was that many of these projects were actually focused more on charitable or humanitarian relief rather than any sort of a long-term sustainable development focus. And a third aspect was that many of these projects did not take into account the needs or the participation of the local Rotary clubs in Haiti. This was a challenge. Haiti being in such a challenging state after the earthquake, the government was not able to provide coordination to the many different actors that were working on the ground. And Rotary realized that it was part of the problem. It was with that context in mind that the initiative of Handwash was born. The idea was to provide support to the government in coordinating all of the different actors working in the water and sanitation space, including providing a vision to how Rotary clubs and districts from around the world could collaborate more closely and more effectively with Rotary clubs in Haiti. So the Handwash Initiative is fundamentally an initiative that moves past charity or humanitarian relief and focuses on the idea that development will be more sustainable if it's locally owned and led. And that is the core premise of the Handwash program. We are working on an initiative that has a programmatic focus, which means that it is not time limited or it's not budget limited. It's a philosophy that's embracing a long-term change in the way that water and sanitation is conducted in the country. And we're doing that in partnership with Rotary clubs throughout the country and focusing initially on 7 different counties out of the 144 counties that make up Haiti. You can see on the map here, we're pointing out the 7 different counties where we're currently working. And in those 7 communes, over the last 3 years, we have managed to mobilize with the support of Rotary clubs and districts from around the world, as well as matching grants from the Rotary Foundation, a total amount of $1.6 million in investments. We expect to significantly increase that this year during 2022. And my hope is that by the end of this year, we will be investing close to $3 million US in water and sanitation investments in Haiti in partnership with local Rotary clubs. So this is really a programmatic focus that provides a coordinated vision to the way that we do our work. But what are the values that drive the Handwash program? Well, first, as I mentioned, it's locally led, which means that if a Rotary club and the community in which they're based are not fully engaged in the process, it means that we slow down or we put a pause on the work that we're doing until they are ready to participate in the conversation fully. And that means that we go at their pace. And if it requires for us to, just slow things down or get folks more involved and re-explain the way that the program works, then that's what we do. We will operate at the pace of the community. The second thing is that we look for meaningful opportunities for Rotary clubs and districts, as well as our partners on the ground, to participate in Handwash. As I mentioned, we have 80 Rotarian volunteers, all of them participating in different ways, simply because they're interested to provide service to the Handwash Initiative. A third core value is our systematic approach, which means that we're thoughtful about the way we plan and implement and really seek to learn from our mistakes so that we don't repeat them in the future. A fourth core value is this idea of impact. At the core of that is sustainability, not just financial sustainability, but also in terms of the community's buy-in, ownership, and their responsibility to providing for their own needs over the long term. A core element of the idea of sustainability is this notion of pay for service. As I mentioned, in the past, Rotary working in water and sanitation in Haiti has been characterized by a charitable approach, which means that the distribution of filters for free to homes in the community without regard to monitoring and evaluation or thinking about behavior change or even soliciting some sort of a contribution from households to ensure that those products would be valued. What we do is we work with the communities to establish a fair and affordable price for those water and sanitation services. And we help the community to set up a governance structure which allows them to maintain that infrastructure over the long term. And the fifth core value is this idea of commitment. As you all know, polio eradication has been the flagship effort for Rotary for decades, and you have just not given up. And in the same token, the Handwash Initiative is committed to seeing this program through, whether it takes us 15 years or 35 years. One of the key tools that we use to engage Rotarians locally, as well as local government officials, is a map of accessibility to clean water and sanitation throughout the country, using a color-coded map that allows folks to visualize where investments are needed. We take that data and in working with the local Rotary clubs in the country, we're able to bring stakeholders to the table and provide them an opportunity to plan investments and understand how they can contribute to better governance of water and sanitation services on the ground. On the left-hand side of the map, you'll see that there are 22 Rotary clubs and 16 Rotaract clubs, not shown on the map, which together bring about 800 members of the Rotary family together. And so each of those clubs is basically attached to or paired with a commune where we are working, and the Rotary Club becomes a voice and an advocate for water and sanitation in the community. They bring all the different stakeholders together for that conversation, and by creating a space for that dialogue, it promotes accountability as well. Because when you're sitting across the table from a locally elected official, a politician, and he makes a promise, and the following month when you return to the table with that politician and he hasn't delivered on that promise, you can hold him accountable because you're staring him right at the face. And Rotarians are, they're in the community. They're passing these folks in the streets, in the stores, and they can go up to them and they can call them out on promises that have not been delivered upon. That advocacy process at the local level has a number of different steps to it. It really starts with the relationships that Rotarians bring to the table, the influence that they carry. As you know, obviously many Rotarians, especially in Haiti, are engineers, lawyers, doctors. Some of them, in some cases, are actually politicians. And so they can bring folks to the table and have conversations around the way that they can participate in water and sanitation on the ground. In this photo here, you'll see past District Governor Robert Leger shaking hands with the mayor of Cavaillon after they've signed an agreement for the development of water and sanitation investments in the commune. Here is past Director John Smarge meeting with the mayor of the Cavaillon commune, where the mayor is articulating his vision for water and sanitation in the community. He's also been given a Barry Racine presidential tie. In this photo, you see past Assistant Governor Fritz Pierre-Louis from the Club of Léogane meeting with the local water authorities and explaining the HANWASH core values, including that key element of pay for service. It requires a sustained conversation over many months sometimes to get folks to realize that they have to participate in the operation and the maintenance of these systems by actually paying for the service so that they can make sure that these facilities can be financed over the long term. Here's a picture of past District Governor Robert Léger meeting with the President of Haiti, talking about the HANWASH program in the Southwest and all that we've been able to achieve, and emphasizing that what we need to be able to accelerate this to the national level. Here's an example of a well that has been delivered in the southwestern part of Haiti. On the left-hand side, you'll see the brand new infrastructure surrounded by the Village Water Committee, along with Rotarians and Rotaractors, as well as community members and leaders who are in attendance. And on the right-hand side, you see the community's been gathered for an inauguration of that same well. It's a huge celebration where folks have been waiting for months for these facilities to be built, having participated in numerous trainings, and having given their commitment that they are going to be willing to pay for that service and help make it more sustainable and long-lasting. And this program is one of the ones that we are currently developing a concept for. It's this idea of the brain drain, where folks move from, for example, in Canada, we lose a lot of doctors to the United States, doctors who move south, medical students who are looking for greater economic opportunity in a privatized medical system. In the same way, in Haiti, you see a lot of promising students or engineering graduates who will move north or go across to Europe so they can find better paying jobs. Our goal is to create a model where we can provide opportunities for mentorship and internship for Haitian engineering graduates and students within the country by creating partnerships with engineering firms and universities. So what I was trying to tell you today here is that the Handwash Initiative is fundamentally a Rotary-inspired and a Rotary-led program with very audacious goals. It provides a model for Rotarians to get involved in different ways: fundraising, advocacy, and service. And I think what you'll see here is a lot of parallels with what Rotary has been able to do in polio eradication. And we're using a similar recipe here for water and sanitation. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to take any questions.